At any rate, what I'd like to do for you now is take you on a quick, I'll call it a romp, a romp through what I consider to be the essential points, essential questions maybe about fostering and teaching student creativity for teachers. And one of the things that really stood out for me listening to Sir Ken is he talks about the myth, I think it was his third myth, that creativity can't be taught. And that's pretty much how I weigh in on this. So the first thing I'll direct your attention to is this book, which I wrote, and it's under my first real question, is student creativity a real thing? Is this something schools need to address? And again, I'll point out that we're considering this from the point of view of not including creativity as a frill, as a little artsy craftsy extra. This, my contention, as it is of Sir Ken's, that this should be a core dynamic running underneath everything. So this book came out it's almost 10 years now. ISTE published it. It sold quite well. In fact, as it was released, the Los Angeles public school system ordered a large number of these. And just a couple of years back, I was approached to speak in the Middle East about this. I was surprised, and I was informed at that time that this book had been translated into Arabic. So it has resonated in certain quarters. And again, it's my contention that, yeah, you can teach creativity. You can nurture it, you can spark it, you can support it, and you can teach it. Make, learn, succeed, building a culture of creativity in your school. And then just a couple of years back, I co-authored this item again for ISTE. The two of us, Michelle, my co-author, and I put out this book called Creative SEL, using hands-on projects to boost social emotional learning. And one of the thrusts of this book is that through engaging students in creative projects, you can get them to reflect deeply on themselves and what's in their world. That's one of the powers of creativity. It's useful to drive other areas of learning. So, I like to start with this. Creativity is not solely the province of the arts. Now, remember, I've shared this with you. First 17 years of my career, I was a visual arts teacher, and then I decided to go in a different direction. And within, I don't know, another 7 or 8 years, I was put in charge of STEM education for the New York City Department of Ed. I have that kind of mind. I can go either way. And and so I think about who this is for. The myth, and Ken Robinson was talking about this too. The myth is that creativity is the domain of eccentric, mysteriously inspired individuals. Anybody recognize any of these folks? Somebody knows who that is, I'm sure. Nobody? That's Van Gogh. So, and this is Jackson Pollock, who was known as Jack the Dripper. Very eccentric. So, but maybe creativity is an intelligence that we all have that can be engaged by informed, focused, collaborative thinkers. And that's really the point for us. Not the crazy artist, but that everyone can tap into his creativity and use it and apply it. So here we have this photo down here is of the Apple design team, the group that put together the iPhone. And this is Buckminster Fuller, who was a design professor, futurist, creator of the geodesic dome. And this is a much different work environment. This is very serious, very professional, suit and tie type thing. It's for business and medicine. And so these are some of the items that came out of creative pursuits in relatively recent times. The iPhone in 2007 from a creative team at Apple, the heart stent uh, in 88, Spotify in 2008. Uh, Streaming media has revolutionized our lives. Even something like the chocolate bar. Chocolate's been around for thousands of years, but portable, appealing, not just portable, but something you can store and distribute. That took a lot of creativity. So, is student creativity an area of importance in schools? Uh, I don't know that a lot of people think it is. Here are some indicators that I'd like to share with you that probably say yes. So this is from Forbes, a well thought of publication for business and finance, very professional and scientific. This particular article, 70% of employers say creative thinking is most in demand skill. Goes back just a couple of years. The most in demand skill. And we in the public schools like to think that we're preparing our students for life after school. And I don't know. Do any of you see much talk or focus or efforting around preparing our kids to be creative? Finding your ideas based on the ideas of others and your collaborators. I agree. That's certainly a step in the right direction. So, I mean, here's another article. This is from Tulane University, and this is a much more recent article. Creative employees are the most sought after, and here's why. And if I've included the link for this, if you want to explore this better, here's a popular blog for education talking about durable skills. We were talking about transferable skills. This is quite recent, and they're saying creativity isn't just for artists. Creativity shows up in both the big and small details of our day-to-day lives. It's how we solve problems, communicate with others, make plans for the future. And so they offer this video, and I will include a link. So that's from the practical preparing kids for real life perspective, and from the pure education focus. We're all familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, and the creativity is right at the top. Clearly, it's important, and we really ought to consider having that importance show up more in what we present to our kids. Are there standards? Well, these are some of the ISTE standards. Um, Standard 1.4 is innovative designer. Students use a variety of technologies within a design process to identify and solve problems by creating new useful and imaginative solutions. So yeah, there's definitely standards. Here's another one from ISTE, creative communicator. Communicate complex ideas, customize your message. Yeah, so those are practical applications throughout our lives as learners, workers, citizens. Definitely, there's standards to be found here as well. Assessment and accountability. Last week I touched on this. PISA, which is the International Program for Student Assessment. They now, we often hear about how do our American kids stand up against Chinese kids or Finn kids in math and language and other things. Now we have standardized tests for creative thinking. And so that appeared from the National Center for Education and the Economy. That's some weighty stuff. And this is from Teacher Magazine, the creative thinking portion of PISA 2022 assess students' ability to come up with new ideas, evaluate those ideas, and improve on them. This is the sort of skill that is going to drive our ongoing health and prosperity, particularly in our world that's now being challenged with unpredictable things like AI. And yeah, so 2022, that was just a little over 3 years ago, and they started measuring creative thinking through this international comparative series of measures. And I mean, here's a news article, and wisely and proudly, they're talking about Singaporean students were the top at creative thinking, even though they don't think they are. And so they're doing something very right. Um, and so they have a rather effective school system there. Have you heard of Singapore math? None of my math people here. Singapore math is a curriculum series that's popular and highly respected in the U.S. and around the world, developed in Singapore. So yeah, the PISA measurements are important, and unfortunately, the United States didn't participate in the PISA Creative Thinking Test in 2022, and I think we've got a lot of catching up to do. Okay, so let's get to a really important aspect of this. Can you teach this? Can creativity be fostered, nurtured, and taught? And so again, referring to my own book, Make, Learn, Succeed, building a culture of creativity in your school. I just want to share a few items here. Uh, in this, I developed what I call a creativity process. So in teaching kids science, we show them about the scientific process. In teaching them writing in ELA, we share with kids the writing process. I wanted to demonstrate in my book that you could extend those ideas, the design process, into the field of creativity, come up with a creativity process kind of as a framework and steady foundation to hang all of this on. And these are some of the chapters: instructional approaches to teaching creativity. There's a chapter on learning activities to develop student activity. And apropos to our course, a full chapter on student creativity and technology. And no, I'm not trying to sell books tonight. But I just wanted to share with you that I'm one of the people who's done a lot of the thinking and exploring in this area. Here's some videos that really caught my attention and I'd recommend. Here's something called the Student Atlas. That's the YouTube channel. And they have a few interesting videos that touch on this. This one is how do you align creative activities with complex standards? So when it comes time to ask teachers if they'd like to try this, often this is a new and this is a new idea that makes them uncomfortable, and they're worried, yeah, great, we'll give kids activities that will develop their creativity and tap their creativity to have them learn our subject areas better. But how do we fit that into what we're doing? So I wanted to point out that people have done that work. And in these videos, you'll find a lot of sage wisdom about how and where to insert creative activities. And I'd be remiss if I didn't share that I just found this. It's not very old. So why didn't I share this video with you? Because it's over an hour and 15 minutes long. It's a webinar using AI to support student creativity. What do we know so far? So this is fresh territory. And not only is the whole idea of teaching student creativity and using tech to support that new, but now it's much further complicated by the appearance of AI, which can make creating creative products easy. By the way, I haven't viewed this one yet, but I'll be taking a look at it soon. I recommend you do as well. And okay, so technology makes this possible. Um, so what kind of tech tools do support student creativity? Well, there's a whole palette of them, but I picked a few. Um, Mind mapping. These are graphic organizers, ways of getting your unorganized ideas all out on paper and then organizing them and prioritizing them so that you can do something with them. Kind of like a first step in many creative projects, including writing in particular. The first step of the writing process is brainstorming. So, I mean, here's a resource I came across, how to mind map, how to use the writing strategy in mind mapping. I would highly recommend you take a look at that. It comes with a video. Infographics. I think infographics are something that could be used across the curriculum. Social studies, timelines, comparative charts and tables of statistics, of social dynamics, economics, population growth, that sort of thing. It's a ripe area to explore as a creative exploration and creative product. And you certainly can use some of the things in the Google Classroom suite of resources for that. And here's a great resource I came across, Teaching with Infographics, a student project model. This is from the New York Times, which from time to time gives supplements for teachers and people wanting to promote learning K through 12. This goes back to 2010. And, you know, there was a real dry formula for what to do after you read a book. When I was in school, we had to do a book report. And since then, we've come up with many kind of exciting, creative book report alternatives, one of which is the book trailer. And you can use Powtoon. Some of you use that for your assignments. It's a online digital comic creator. You can get part of it free, and that's something powerful that you can have kids do. And here, this I pulled off the web from a high school's website, and gives instructions on how to make a book trailer using Google Slides. And in its gallery, there are examples. And so I've just scratched the surface of uh, of the tools and the products that can be made. So I think that's a good, quick intro into this whole subject, and I'll leave it there for now.